Hello, guys, and welcome to the Football Convention, where we provide a platform for football fans just like you and me, and our guests, of course, to share their opinions and their views on the beautiful game. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, James, all the way from London, who is also the owner of All Things Chelsea, which is a blog which I write for as well. And he's an absolute football intellectual, and he's a very important figure on Chelsea Twitter. So, how are you doing, James?
I'm great. Thanks for the intro, mate. I appreciate that.
Yep. And joining him as well, we have our football convention regular Srinidhi. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How about you?
Yep, I'm fine. So then let's get straight into today's topic. So today we will be discussing about two former club legends who are currently managing their respective top six clubs. And I'm talking about Chelsea manager Frank Lampard and Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjær. So let me start off with you, James. What are your thoughts on Lampard's tactics and his flexibility, if you would like?
I think when Lampard's come in, he's shown sort of what he wants to do with the team. He's shown that his tactics are pressing from the front. He wants, especially with Mount and Abraham, he's tried to get that sort of implemented well into the team. So we know he's got a clear plan set out for what he wants to try and do for the team. It's obviously not. It's been a bit up and down in terms of results and performances, consistency from the back and things. So it's been a decent start, I'd say. He's shown sort of he's adaptable. He's got obviously been a bit flexible with formations. He's had like 3-4-3s and 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. I think 3-5-2 for a bit yesterday. So he's sort of, he knows his style. He knows how he wants to play, and he's sort of got different ways of doing that. So I think he obviously knows what he's doing. It's early days, but he's obviously not perfect so far. I'd say he's got work to do. But yeah, lots of different ways he can play within that same system.
Yep. And what about you, Srinidhi?
Yeah, I think James hit the nail on the head there because it's not easy. Because Chelsea is a massive club compared to clubs like Derby County. It's not an easy step up if you'd say. So to be honest, I'm actually quite impressed with how Lampard's first season is turning out. To be honest, because he switched from four at the back to mirror the Wolves formation of having three centre backs of Tomori, Rudiger, and Rudiger's back in the defense. I think that's a great plus point for y'all. I think he's your best defender, and Christensen to partner him as well. I think the way he mirrored Wolves' formation and went ahead with his game plan, I feel Lampard's doing great so far. Obviously, the results haven't been quite as you'd want and or as you would expect, but then I feel everything takes time. As games pass, I think you'll be set for a reasonable season ahead.
Yep, I hope so. Okay, going on to the second question, James, I'd like to ask this to you as well. Should Lampard start taking part of the blame, especially in the light of yesterday's events? I mean, he has taken some of the blame with respect to substitutions and things like that. So, do you think we should start blaming him a little bit more and a little less on the transfer ban and of course Hazard leaving and the injuries?
Obviously, the transfer ban does come into play, but I think Lampard obviously has to take some of the blame. He even said it in his first press conference. He said, after 5 minutes, I won't be the player Frank Lampard anymore. I'm the manager. So that's coming from him himself. So he wants to take responsibility for what's happening on the pitch, and I think he has to, especially from yesterday's game. The substitutions were poor. I'd say his in-game management hasn't been the best so far. I'd say the one thing that really wasn't great for me yesterday was when Mount got injured and he brought on Pedro. That was a really, really strange one for me, because what Mount gives you is the pressing from the front. We saw he was doing that and stretching the Valencia defence, and that was creating sort of a gap between the lines, between the defensive and the midfield for Valencia, which was quite useful for Willian to exploit. He was getting into really good runs, passing to Azpilicueta to cross in, and Tammy had that chance straight away from that. Alonso was getting more time on the ball, Kovacic as well. So that Mount coming off obviously was a big loss for us. And then he brought Pedro on, which is a completely different type of player, because Pedro obviously used to be the player who runs in behind, who stretches teams, but he's not really that anymore. He's more of someone who's dropping deep to come and get the ball deeper in the midfield. So that made everything really a lot more compact, which is why I thought he should have brought Pulisic on. because obviously Pulisic is a young player. He'll run in behind and he'll continue to stretch that, which is where Valencia were having problems with us. So that's where I think Lampard needs to learn. He needs to sort of become better at seeing these things in and sort of making a decision really quickly in the game. Because I think he obviously went with Pedro. Obviously, for the experience, it was a sort of a snap decision. Okay, I bring Pedro on. He's got the experience. He's played in the Champions League for years. But really, probably Pulisic was the better choice. So yeah, it's you've got to blame Lampard in that respect. But then again, you look at how he played. I saw a stat that we had 15 shots inside the box yesterday. So there's clearly not a problem with his tactics in terms of the chance creation. It's more about the finishing and the plays he's got available to him. But the substitutions, for me, he needs to work on, and the in-game management. So yeah, he's got to take some of the blame. But obviously the transfer ban and the injuries is playing a big part.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And so, Srinidhi, from a United fans' perspective, what do you think? Who is to be blamed here?
See, at the end of the day, the manager should be accountable for how his team performs because he's getting paid for it, quite simply, because he picks the team, he picks the tactics he employs. So there's no doubt that Lampard should take a bit of the blame. Like he can't get a free say just because he's a Chelsea legend and one of the best midfielders to play in the Premier League. I get that, but still, he's picking the team, he's setting up the tactics, he's making his substitutions. So he should take part of the blame. But then the other side of the coin is that it's not easy a step up from Derby to Chelsea, especially with Chelsea losing their best player, arguably the best Premier League player in the past 5-6 years. It's not easy to just replace him with players from your academy. One good thing is that he knows them quite well, working with them previously, and his assistant manager as well. So I think he should take part of the blame. I'm not saying he should be free of all of it, but then at the same time, you have to look at it from his point of view as well. He'd love to settle in with a. You should probably judge him after a transfer window or two. That's what I'd say.
Yep, that's fair. And let's move on to the next question. And this is for you, Srinidhi. What are your thoughts on United season so far, and highlighting their lack of goal threat? Should they have signed a Lukaku replacement after selling him to Inter Milan?
That being said, mate, we're just 2 points off Man City right now. So I'm not saying we've had the best start, not by any means, but then it's not as bad as people on Twitter make out it to be as well. So I'd say we should have actually signed a striker. We looked for Paulo Dybala. It was pretty clear in the end. We couldn't get it over the line. So I think Ole has rested his faith on youngsters coming through. Greenwood. But then I'm surprised by the lack of game time Greenwood has got as well. And then I think he'll start in the Europa League day after tomorrow. So I think we should have signed a striker, but then the Premier League transfer window ending early didn't do us any favors, did it? Because we were like in a time crunch, and at the same time we didn't want to sign any player. We didn't want to panic buy any player. So I think it was good waiting for the right player at the right moment. Probably signing Dybala wouldn't have been that hard. Like, pay the money, we've got the money. But then at the end of the day, the player didn't show enough desire to come to us. And at the end of the day, we've got many players who are just here for the money, and that should stop.
So what are your thoughts on that, James?
I think it's like you said. They've had a decent start. I think you're on 8 points so far, so level with Chelsea and things. So it's been an okay start. It's not an okay start. It's been terrible. It's been their worst in like 27 years or whatever. But in context, it's not been too bad. I saw something that the expected goals that they should be scoring from the chances they've created is the second best in the league in terms of they've created the second most clear-cut chances. So again, it's like Chelsea, it's the finishing that needs to improve, which is why I think that selling Lukaku without getting a replacement in was kind of an amateur move, you could say. I know Lukaku wanted to go. It's probably you probably had to get rid of him, to be honest with you. He didn't seem like he wanted to be there. I think if the lure of Conte was too much for him, he wanted to go. But at a big club, if you're going to sell one of your best players and you obviously don't have a ban, you've got to replace them. So Lukaku for me would have improved you this season. He'd be finishing a lot of those chances, although a lot of people didn't rate him as much as much as maybe others did. But yeah, I think it was a weird one to sell him without getting a replacement. And I know you tried for Dybala, but obviously that didn't work out. So sort of a 50-50 blame in terms of they should have had different options in case Dybala didn't go through, because he wasn't obviously a realistic option, I don't think. And then you're left with Greenwood, aren't you, who is a really promising player but hasn't played much for some reason, even though Rashford's not been scoring goals other than penalties. So yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
Yep, you summed it up pretty well. While we're on the topic of Solskjær, he obviously had an excellent start to his tenure as a United manager. He won so many of his initial games, and then he beat PSG away in the Champions League as well. So, is Ole the right man for the job? And I would like to ask this question to Srinidhi, of course. Or was he lucky with his honeymoon period, or do you think he's the right man for the job to lead the club forward?
To be honest, United have tried David Moyes. They tried with David Moyes. They expected David Moyes to have the same impact as what Alex Ferguson had. I think that was a bit unrealistic. And then they tried with a more experienced manager, that is Louis van Gaal. He's won trophies everywhere he's been to, Bayern Munich, Barcelona. That didn't quite work out as well. And then they've gotten Jose Mourinho, as you'd know him quite well. He's one of the best managers around. And let's be honest, that didn't work out well either. So I think what they've decided is, let's take a foot off the pedal here. I employ a club legend, Ole Gunnar Solskjær. He's loved by the fans. That's one good thing, because fans won't turn on him easily. The fans on Twitter, one thing, and the other thing are the match-going fans. They stick by him till the very end, I'm sure. Although Twitter divides opinions, I think the match-going fans are quite sensible in that way. So they won't turn on the manager, and they won't react as quickly as the fans do on Twitter. So yeah, I think he's the right man. I'm not quite sure, but I'd obviously love him to be the right man, because what's there to hear about him? He's like literally everything Ferguson. Whatever we saw in Ferguson, we see him in Solskjær. But then the results haven't been quite there yet. I won't lie to you. The start was promising. The start promises way too many things. They started to think about the title next season. Obviously, it turned out to be not quite there yet. So it's a promising start. Like, I'd actually prefer a start of like how Lampard had a start to his reign in Chelsea, like a few wins, a few draws, a loss here and there. That's better than actually going 6, 7, 8 games without a loss, and then suddenly the domino effect hits you of loss after loss after loss. So I'd say it's been a reasonable start. Let's see how things go this season.
Yep. What are your thoughts on that, James?
In terms of Ole being the right man, I'd say it's sort of a 50-50 for me. I see him as sort of a stopgap manager, someone who can sort of get them back to playing how they used to play, because you can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to get it back to the Sir Alex Ferguson days in terms of that style and attacking play. The results have been really good when he came in. Obviously, you often get that the new manager bounce, but it's just sort of fell off a cliff. Like, I don't know what's gone on, but they've not got many wins in the last, since April or whatever it was. Yeah, it's not been great since then. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more to do with the board as well. They're not. It's obviously just Ed Woodward is he's shocking. So you're always going to be in trouble with him upstairs. Yeah, so I think he could improve, Ole, but he needs more backing. He needs to sort of promote the youth a bit more, I'd say, because you've seen it at Chelsea with Lampard promoting I wouldn't say just the youth, the deserving youth is the key point in that. So you've got your Mason Greenwoods, the Angel Gomez's, and I think it's some other player, I can't remember his name, but obviously McTominay as well. They're coming through. They just really deserve to be in the team over the likes of Matic and Mata and Lingard, who seem to be playing. Lingard's not done anything in the whole year. So how he's getting in the team ahead of Gomez and Chong and things is a bit strange. But yeah, he's come in. He said he wants to promote the youth, but he's still relying on the experienced players. So he's sort of playing it safe a bit at the minute, I'd say.
Yep, and you touched on it actually. The next question I was gonna ask is related to this. Angel Gomez, actually, he was such an important part of the England youth setup with won the Under-17 World Cup, and he obviously made his debut under Jose Mourinho, and I think he even scored a goal in that match. And well, with other players getting so much game time, and especially United needing that creative midfielder, with which position is occupied by Jesse Lingard at the moment. Do you think Angel Gomez deserves a little more playing time, of course, because we've obviously seen Chong and such other academy products get a couple of minutes here and there, but Angel Gomez is most of the times not even included in the match day squad. And so, what are your thoughts on that, James? What do you think?
I think he's. I've not really seen much of him. I know he's a promising talent, isn't he? And hopefully he can kick on. But obviously he needs to play. But Man United are in the Europa League, so congrats to you guys. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, young players seem to get more chances in the Europa League, and we saw that with Hudson-Odoi last season. So he could have sort of like a Hudson-Odoi type season in that sort of sense, in terms of getting some minutes in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, and the early stages of the FA Cup, and then sort of become more of a prominent player towards the end. But I think he's a bit younger than, is he 17? I think. 18 now. Yeah. So yeah, same age as Hudson-Odoi was last season. So it could be a season in the Europa League and the Cup to kick on and start getting more game time. But yeah, he's definitely a good talent.
What are your thoughts about that, Shinidi?
Yeah, as James said, I expected Ole to play more youth as well. Like he promised to play youth when he was employed as a Man United manager. But then I also feel he's waiting for the right moment to release these players, because one way to look at it is, we all know how challenging the Premier League is. It isn't easy by any means. So one way to look at it is, why isn't he playing all these players? We are Greenwood, your Chongs, and your Gomez's, but then at the same time releasing them, and then they have a disaster class, and then another disaster class. That won't help their confidence as well. So I'd say it's a fine balance between getting it right. Happening to Abraham right now. He missed the penalty. I thought his confidence is on a downward spiral, but then you look at him, it's like he's been playing in the Premier League for a decade now. So you'd obviously hope that that's the same impact what would have happened to players like Gomez and Chong. But then it is what it is, Ole, I think he knows what he's doing, I guess. That's what I'd like to believe at least. But let's just wait and watch. I think as the season progresses, as the Europa League games pile up, towards the end, Thursday, Sunday fixtures, they get really, they test your team fitness, your team and your squad depth especially. So I think when it comes down to the latter end of this season, I think Gomez will get his chances for sure.
Yeah, just actually to add in on that, I think if you look at Man United's young players, they're all very, very, very inexperienced. So you look at Chelsea in terms of Mount, Abraham, Tomori, they all had loans to Championship clubs. Mount went to Holland as well for a season. So all of them breaking through into the Premier League side now have got 2-3 years of experience on loan, whereas Gomez, Chong, Greenwood and stuff are coming straight from the academy, so it is obviously much harder to get into the team. So that's probably why they haven't played as much, I'd say.
Yep, our lone army coming to the rescue. Okay, then let's move on to the next round, which is the rapid fire round. And well, I would prefer if you could, both of you, just answer in a word or two maximum. So the first question for James: who will finish higher this season, United or Chelsea?
Chelsea.
And the same question to you, Srinidhi.
Heart says United, mind says Chelsea. I'm going with my heart in this one, so it's got to be United.
Okay, then the next one is a bit of a controversial question. But James, who is going to be sacked first? Ole Gunnar Solskjær or Frank Lampard?
It's obviously Ole, isn't it?
And what about you, mate, Srinidhi?
Lampard, mate, you're one of the best players who have stepped on the football pitch, but then, sorry, you're getting binned first. Hope this helps.
Nope, you're wrong there, mate. Okay. Then now, James, the question for you. If you could sign 3 players from United for Chelsea who would improve our team, who would they be?
None. Honestly, maybe Pogba, but I honestly don't see many players in your squad that would improve us that much, to be honest with you. It isn't a good squad.
Well, brutally honest there. Okay, Srinidhi, the same question for you. If you could sign three players from Chelsea for the United squad, who would they be?
This question is hard, isn't it? I don't think you've got three world-class players as well. So I'd have to say Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and probably Jorginho because we're quite light on the midfield area. So yeah, those three.
Yep, good thinking, good thinking. Okay, James, Chelsea's top scorer, go.
Sammy.
Srinidhi, United's top scorer, go.
Anthony Martial.
Interesting. Okay, well, just before we close, the last question, James, for you. Where do you think Chelsea will finish this season?
Fifth or sixth.
When you think United will finish below that?
Yeah,
Was it for me?
No, that was for James. He said Chelsea
All right,
will finish
yeah.
fifth or sixth.
No, I think United. I think it might be fifth, and then United sixth or something. We've got players returning, so.
Yep, that's true. Okay, same question to you, Srinidhi. Where do you see United finishing?
I'd say fifth
And Chelsea sixth, I assume?
or seventh.
Oh, pushing it there, mate.
It's getting rude.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's very interesting episodes. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already to the Football Convention. And all social media links can be found in the description. And just before we end the video, James, would you like to say anything?
I'm just going to do a few plugs, obviously. Obviously, all things Chelsea publication. MA is part of that. Does the writing team does some really great articles for us. Yeah, so that's on Twitter at allthingschelsea_, and obviously my account at FCBLJames_. So follow up.
Yep, will do. It's a great publication indeed. Okay, then thank you so much for watching and goodbye.